Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Wintley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2. Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by our own Ron Bartell. After the invocation, please remain standing for the pledge.
Thank you, Your Honor. You'd all bow with me. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the blessings that you've given us this day. We are thankful for the blessings that you're providing this county, the rain and cooler temperatures. We're thankful for that, and we're thankful for the prosperity that we're experiencing in comparison to some of the other areas of this country that are struggling. We thank you for your continued blessings over this county. Today, as these commissioners deliberate the affairs of the day, we ask that you grant them the wisdom of Solomon and the heart of David, so that the things that are being considered today will be accomplished in accordance with your will and for the good of your people. We thank you for all the blessings, and we ask your continued favor and protection over this county and all of its residents. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thanks, Ron. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have 4 announcements for you this morning. The first one is under purchasing. It will be item 8K1. This concerns bid number 2010-100, resale or the sale of recycled paper. There is a revised court communication in your red folder this morning as it relates to that particular item. Also, if we could then go to the Sheriff's Department, items 8L1. This concerns the rescission of various court orders as it relates to forfeited vehicles. We're going to ask that we hold that particular item for 1 week. Then if we could go to the tax assessor collector item, it will be 8M2, which is the approval of property tax refunds. There is a new court communication that we have given you. It's a revised one. We've removed one of those refunds upon the request of the tax assessor office. And then finally, members of court, just a reminder that there is a meeting of the PEBC this coming Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. It will be held at the Council of Governments. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of July the 13th.
Move approval.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Proclamations. Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have a proclamation today.
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Hunger continues to be a major issue for a large part of the population in Tarrant County. This proclamation recognizes the efforts of the Tarrant County Food Bank to deal with hunger among our citizenry. I ask that you read it into the record, then I will present it.
Whereas each morning in our community, more than 211,000 people, 85,000 of which are children, wake up not knowing if they will have enough food to eat that day. And whereas in Tarrant County alone, Tarrant Area Food Bank provides donated food to feeding sites that include food pantries, senior citizen centers, kids cafes, emergency shelters, kitchens, low-income child care centers, and other social service centers. And whereas every month partner charities distribute groceries to more than 40,000 families and serve 575,000 prepared meals and snacks with food provided by the Tarrant Area Food Bank on their own sites to individuals and families. And whereas on July 29, 2010, Tarrant County is asking employees throughout the county to fight hunger by donating their lunch money to the Tarrant Area Food Bank. And whereas each dollar Tarrant County employees donate will allow the Tarrant Area Food Bank to distribute food for 4 meals to our neighbors in need. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim Thursday, July the 29th, 2010, as Let's Not Do Lunch Today in Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 27th day of July 2010.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And I have $20 for my lunch on Thursday. Come on, guys, ante up. There's one for Glenn.
There you go.
JD may
Put 'em all
need
in
change.
one
I'm not
bag.
sure he's got that bigger, that smaller bill.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we're in.
We're all in.
No purse.
Bo, would you please join me at the podium?
Baby doesn't get shoes this month.
It's still okay if we have lunch.
Yeah, we can still have lunch, can't we?
If we paid, can we
If we
have
pay,
lunch?
can we still have lunch?
You ought to fast. Thank you.
We can go to Bo's place and have lunch, and we'll do that.
Thank you, sir. I would say it's already a success. Thank you so much. We have seen an unprecedented year. We closed our fiscal year on the last of June. This past year, we distributed 25% more food than we did last year. Last year, we distributed 25% more food than the year before. We've moved from 16 million pounds to 24 million pounds of food in 2 years. I don't think that we're covering the need, but we certainly moved a ways toward it. April 2010, single month of April, we put 2.3 million pounds of food into the community. April 2008, 1.2. I think that tells the story. The county employees have done a remarkable job over the years to support us. Most recently, donating enough food to purchase a trailer load of turkeys for the holiday season. I applaud you for your leadership. I applaud you for the example you set, and I applaud all of the county employees for supporting us. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for the proclamation.
And Ann, we want to thank you.
Oh,
We want to thank you for everything that you do
It's
to
been a
help
great job.
organize all of this.
I want to remind everyone at court and anybody that's listening that they can log on to idonatetoCharity.org, Food Drive 2010, and bid on items from our online auction, which currently has a total amount of bids of over $3,500. The boat is over $800 this morning, so we're really excited about the prospect. 100% of that money goes straight to Tarrant Area Food Bank to feed hungry people.
Here comes Debbie with her 20, so get it before she spends it.
Okay. Well, believe me, I will. Thanks, Deb. Okay. Every employee is going to receive one of these Thursday morning, if not before. It's their opportunity to make a quiet, anonymous donation to the food bank, and we hope that folks are going to participate. and I appreciate y'all's patience with all my emails, and rest assured there'll be some more. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
I want to thank my colleagues for allowing me to blindside you and pick your pockets this morning, but it's for a good cause. And Bo is right. Tarrant County employees have been incredibly generous to the food bank over a long period of time, and we appreciate all that you do.
Again, thank you very much. Everybody is very gracious. The other thing I would mention is we are still in the midst of our health assessments, and I think those go through the 29th. And if you haven't gotten your health assessment, I hope that you will take advantage of that and do that. Just a couple of other things that I want to mention before we go on to the next agenda item. Commissioner Johnson, I found out that you, in our conversation this morning, that you just recently received the Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine's Founder Award, and congratulations on that. That's the highest honor that they bestow. And then finally, I see Margie in the back of the room over there. Margie, stand up. Stand up. Don't you be sitting down. Stand up. Margie is retiring at the end of this week. She is, for 28 years, babysit first Lynn, then Bob, and then me. And in the meantime, also, Commissioner Fickus there for a while, and she's going to be retiring with 28 years this Friday. And so we're going to close the court in honor of Margie today. And again, thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 3 additional items we'd like to bring to the court this morning. First one, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the Supplemental Watershed Plan Agreement Number 2 with the U.S. Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources Conservation Services. If I could just give you a little history on this, this is an agreement that we initially entered into in 1959, and we renewed our agreement with USDA in 1964. What it does, it provides low-level and water protection that the federal government has placed in conjunction with the water flow areas that are in Bear Creek and Mountain Creek watersheds. The USDA is wanting to do some additional work. There's a little work that needs to be done in Mansfield. The bulk of all this work is in Ellis County. Because we were the original signatures, on the original agreement, we need to approve this amendment also. The District Attorney's Office has looked at it. Our Transportation Department, because of its hydrology efforts, have looked at it. We've sent it over to the Water District to look at, and we're all in agreement that we should go ahead and approve and participate in this amendment.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, we go to item number 2. We're requesting that the Court approve an interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and the Texas Department of Transportation as it relates to the continuation of the Mobility Assistance Program, which is operated by the Sheriff's Department.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
This is the patrol thing.
Courtesy Patrol, yes.
Courtesy patrol. Okay.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Finally, members of the Court, on item number 3, I'm going to ask Ms. McMillan to address the Court at this time.
Judge, Commissioners, today you're being asked to approve an amendment to the Fort Worth Tax Increment Financing Zone Number 9, the TRV, Trinity River Vision TIF. As you may recall, at the end of last year, the City of Fort Worth came before you and made an extensive presentation outlining the proposed changes to the project and financing plan for this TIF. Those include expansion of the zone to include the Gateway and Riverside Oxbow area to provide for flood storage and valley flood protection and valley storage. I've included a map with you in your red packet that outlines those changes. The red part is the original district, and the green part is the expanded area of the district. Also, with the inclusion of that, the project costs have increased. Part of that is because of updated costs with the expansion area. Also, design and engineering costs have been updated, and just inflation. Project costs have now increased to $909 million, and one of the reasons for extension of the term from the original 25 years to 40 years is to allow for adequate funds to be generated through the TIF to cover these updated costs. I've also included in your packets an outline of the new financing plan summary that shows how the TRV $909 million in project costs will be funded, approximately 53% through federal funds, 46% through local funds, and part of that, this $320 million, will be included in TIF funding, and it's outlined in the plan you have before you. We're asking today for you to approve Amendment Number 1 to the participation agreement for Tax Increment Financing District Number 9, providing for the expansion of the TIF zone boundaries, extension of the term of the zone to 40 years, and amendments to the project and financing plans. And then we're also asking for you to also approve a recommendation to the Tarrant County Hospital District Board of Managers that the hospital district approve a similar amendment.
I'd like to comment that in addition to flood and valley storage in the Gateway Park and Oxbow areas, we're picking up an awful lot of park amenities in the Gateway Park area. That presentation has been made to us on numerous occasions about the recreational amenities that will go into this park and make it one of the largest urban parks in America. With that having been said, I move approval of all that you just outlined.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I guess the question that I want to be sure, in other TIFs where we've done them with, with local folks, we have excluded things like, police stations, city halls, libraries, those types of things.
While
Have we been consistent with that?
a lot of the funding for the recreational improvements is not coming from the TIF district. That's coming from other sources. If I'm,
That's true,
that's true.
but it's part of
It's part of the
Part of the
overall
overall
plan.
deal,
project attractive. yes.
but again, from
The
our
answer- The
standpoint,
answer to your question is yes. There are no police or fire stations or schools that are included in this TIF funding.
okay. So we've been consistent then. Any questions, Gary?
Yeah.
Commissioner Pickens?
As far as public or private sector improvements that are going to take place, I guess the TIF is, the dollars generated from the TIF are paying for the channeling,
Bypass channel?
the bridges,
Correct.
is that correct?
Utility
Gates, dams,
relocation.
Utilities, is this utilities through, when I say utilities, I'm talking sewer, water, primarily.
And electrical.
Throughout-
Electric, anything that had to be
throughout
rerouted.
the general area of the TIF that will be developed by private sector?
No, only those that have to be relocated because of the channels when, we go through, and because where there wasn't water, there is going to be water, those relocations.
Get off water, let's talk about land that somebody's gonna build on.
It's going to carry the utilities to that property, so that just like any municipal responsibility to provide utilities to a development.
Normally, a developer pays to put the utilities into private property.
You've got to have the main water lines available, though, to tap into.
This would be very similar to the South Lake Town Center, where we provided
Right.
up to that, it'd be,
Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. Streets within the,
There are some streets that will be, there are going to be some public streets. There's money that's coming from TxDOT to do some of those streets. There'll be normal municipal streets in there. Not a whole lot of them, but some, at least in the public right-of-ways.
okay, the entities that move into this, the private entities, individuals who buy, lease apartments, commercial property for retail, office, whatever, is their property part of this TIF, and their taxes are going toward the payback?
That's
That
correct.
would be the increment.
That's correct.
Any development that occurs within the zone will create the increment
Right.
that will finance the public improvement.
Okay.
There will not be any revenues that are ad valorem taxes that are outside the TIF that will be used to pay for this, except that which all the local governments have agreed to contribute already. One of the reasons for doing this is because the water district is front-loading a lot of the costs, and they're paying for it out of funds that they're not allowed to use for utilities, for more economic development, and it's a payback issue, and it's a no-interest loan. And so we actually had two different economic impact statements developed as related to this. One was more positive and one was more negative. And what we're trying to do is to ensure that there are revenues available to pay for the less positive one. Obviously, like any TIF that we enter into now, that if the scope of services change, then they'll need to bring that back to this Commissioner's Court for approval.
Primarily the improvements that you're making as far as the water, those are along the bypass channel. This does not include the canals.
There is some right-of-way that's being acquired for the canals, but it's something that would have had to occur anyway because of the fact that the canals are going to be used as a receptor for runoff and pushed back into the river.
One of the questions, it talks in the documents here that between 2009 and 2012, there's anticipated 1.5, little over 1.5 million square feet of development that will take place with a value of $235 million. Is any of that happening? Has anybody got plans in for review on any kind of 1.5 million square feet of development
There is
today?
a tremendous amount of interest that has been generated in the private sector now that the project is moving forward. And as you might have read in the paper, as it relates to the whole area where the CATS is located, that area, that property is being actively sought by some very substantial developers who are going to be actually developing that property.
But nothing's under, because nobody's pulled a permit?
Not yet.
Okay.
And nobody can until the bypass channels are in and the land is
Well, what
is
my
buildable.
concern is, it appears that it's 2010, almost, we're halfway to 2011. Nothing's happened.
I wouldn't say that nothing has
Well,
happened.
and I know that, but as far as the projections to start generating revenue, it hadn't happened. I don't want to y'all
Actually,
come back in 18 months and say this project is now not 900 and something million, but it's 1.8 billion dollars.
No.
That's what my concern is.
And Commissioner, let me say this, that the land values since the TIF has been put into place, they have increased, and the revenues that we are getting into the TIF right now, even with very little development down there, is meeting the expectations of the less aggressive economic impact statement. So we are pulling additional revenues. I believe we get about $1.5 million extra last year just because of the increment. So it is generating monies already.
And additionally, all that development along the bluff is done in anticipation of this project and would not have happened but for this project.
Well,
Can you talk a little bit about the increase? I mean, the increase, I've heard a lot about that, but that represents an increase from a couple of different perspectives. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Judge, are you talking about the increase in costs or?
Yes, I mean, because I think everybody's remembering back when it was around 500 or so.
What's happened is that when the original TIF was established, when we first went into this, there were some very, very high-level estimates as far as what the cost might be, and they were talking about dollars in current dollars at that time, and I believe that was around 430 in that ballpark million. A lot of that, they thought at first about half of that was going to be funded by the Corps of Engineers, and a portion of that was going to be funded by governmental entities, and then about $115 million was going to be funded by the TIF itself. As that project became more granular, and they began to talk not in current day dollars, but rather the actual dollars when these projects were to go online. In other words, the inflationary piece of this, and the fact that we extended the TIF to pick up the Oxbow and Gateway, which made a lot of sense because it created greater valley storage for the water, and also a real opportunity to develop recreational activities down in that area. By the way, the Gateway Park, once it's completed, will be actually larger than Central Park in New York City. It'll be the largest urban park in the United States. And in order to cover those costs, to move the water where we needed to have it moved, and to really look at some of the extras, for example, on the Corps of Engineers would pay for a certain amount as far as the hard edge of the river, but that would have basically created just a concrete wall. And if you are going to utilize the river for people to enjoy, like they do in San Antonio and other major cities, you've got to get people down there. So we softened that. There was some extra costs that dealt with that. And once you factored in the inflationary issues, the Gateway Park related issues, and also the softening of the hard edge of the river, then those costs increased to a little over $900 million. We went through a tremendous amount of vetting processes to get to that, to make sure there were a lot more projects that they wanted to add in. We said, no, we needed to do the core projects first. You've already seen here where that the Corps of Engineers amount has already started to move upwards from the 50%. We believe eventually that actually may turn into about 60% of those total costs. And so we are well on our way to accomplish what we've set out in that plan.
So again, originally it was the 430 was in 2005 dollars,
Yes.
and it anticipated the expenditures all the way through 2012, but they did it all in 2012 dollars. I mean 2005 dollars.
$2,005 plus.
And then they increased the size also for the Gateway Park acquisition.
And Judge, let me correct you on one thing you said through 2012. Actually, those expenditures are going to be much farther out than 2012.
2020, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
2020.
Yes, sir. Excuse me.
I just want to be sure that this thing stays in bounds and doesn't, as I say, come up in a couple of years and it's doubled again.
Well, Commissioner, how we try to protect the county as it relates to that, if there are cost increase or scope increases, they have to bring those back to Commissioner's Court for approval. Unlike earlier TIFs where that once you joined into the TIF, that TIF board actually made the decision as to increase the expenditures or increase the scope. The way we have our documents written is that we want them, if there's any changes or attempted changes, they need to bring it back to this governing body just like they would have to bring it back to the City Council.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussions at this time?
Just one more comment about the Gateway Park area. We are picking up the largest urban park in America. It will have tremendous amenities that will attract people from all over the area. But the reason that that is included in this project is because we need some place to store the water.
Right.
And that makes for a good storage area that we can use for recreational purposes when there's no need to store water there.
You're getting it out of downtown.
There you go.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Ms. Tidwell.
have two items for the court to consider this morning. The first is to receive and file the quarterly investment report for the period ended June 30th, 2010.
Move approval to receive and file.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the other item is to ask the court to receive and file the Tarrant County financial statements for the period ended June.
Move approval to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Do we want to wait till after on the attorney's items?
That's correct.
Ms. Glenn, welcome.
Please the court. I'm here this morning to ask for your approval to renew our cooperative agreement with the Office of the Attorney General and the Tarrant County Child Support Office, wherein they partially reimburse us for some of our customer service obligations and for providing the state disbursement unit with updated information on child support orders.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Have a good day. Mr. Rayburn. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you this morning?
Great.
I'm here this morning to ask that you appoint a list of election judges and alternate election judges for a one-year term beginning August 1st and ending July 31st, 2011.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Have a good day. Mr. Phillips.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve the placement of a Heritage Trails marker on the 1895 courthouse grounds, commemorating the Texas Christian University's 100th year in Fort Worth, and approve a ceremony on the site scheduled for August 30th, 2010.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You smooth the edges and all that? All right.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. Right.
Ms. Glenn.
Good morning. I have several items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second item, we're asking the court to approve an out-of-class pay extension for juvenile services. This has been a recurring request. If the court recalls, this out-of-class pay request is for an employee who is filling in as caseworker supervisor for an employee who's assigned to the JCMS project. The cost of this extension is approximately $2,500 and will extend through the end of October.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for transportation services. The shop supervisor is retiring at the end of this month with 400 vacation hours. The department is requesting a waiver effective August the 2nd. The fiscal impact to the Road and Bridge Fund will be approximately $10,644, excluding fringe benefits.
Move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4, we're asking the court to approve a departmental reorganization for the district attorney's office. This request involves the reclass of the technical evidence coordinator, currently at pay grade 16, to the digital media evidence lab coordinator, pay grade 73. The lab coordinator, as outlined in your court communique, will be responsible for operations of the DWI, library and the digital media evidence lab. This individual will also assume supervision of 2 evidence specialists and a criminal investigator. The Job Evaluation Committee has, in fact, reviewed this reclass request, and of course, it's before you now for your approval. Impact to the general fund of approximately $22,500.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our final item, we're asking the court to approve amendment number 6 to the Administrative Services Agreement between MHN Services and Tarrant County. As noted in your court communique, the fiscal impact of this request is approximately $183,564. This amendment has been reviewed by legal counsel.
Is this general fund money or grant money?
It's general fund.
I'm lost.
The MHN services. It's
General fund.
General fund.
It's funded by all funds.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brewer?
It's one of those contracts that should have been in place in January.
We have one item for your approval this morning. This is interim financing for fiscal year 2011. These are grants Ryan White 4, Part D, and Public Health Preparedness Base grants. We have no other outstanding interim financing.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Beecham? Give Mr. Farmer your $20?
Sir?
Did you give Ms. Farmer your $20?
Not yet. But I will.
We can go ahead
Send the email.
and wait for you to do that.
Do you want witnesses or?
What about GK?
I think he gave his. He's already in.
Commissioner, I'm with you guys. I already
Did
get it.
Wilder pay?
Who, me?
Hey,
or
look at the size of Wilder. His lunch is going to cost a whole lot more than ours. Your lunch must be at least $40.
You can leave it with GK.
You can only spend it in Arkansas.
You can leave it with GK.
It's not Confederate.
I'll take it in. I'll turn it in for you.
We have five items for consideration, one announcement. Do we want to do the announcement first or the?
Go ahead with the announcement.
Just want to talk about the upcoming Saturday, August 7th county auction.
Wait a minute. She's done it. Don't just dig. Don't shake her hand. Dig in your pocket. Didn't Mama give you an allowance today?
He didn't have his purse.
Go right ahead. I just didn't want to miss an opportunity to abuse Mr. Early back there.
We want to talk about the upcoming county auction on Saturday, August the 7th, which is at 9 o'clock in Precinct 4. Commissioner Johnson is hosting that venue again for us at the North Texas Rodeo Association. Auctioneers, Renee Bates Auctioneers, as you know, have a lot of stuff. We did not have an auction last year because of all the grant money. We have quite a collection of items, some jewelry. Probably be warm that day. Like to see you all out there if you have nothing to do at 9 o'clock on Saturday, August the 7th. Have concessions. We've taken extra care for the heat, which we're expecting. The other thing, we do have a pretty active online auction process, which most of you know about. All the items we don't sell at the live auction, which we normally have 2 a year, we sell online. Our marquee item right now, at the present time, is a red and white longhorn steer we've named Suey. That's for sale.
How did we acquire this longhorn?
Through the Livestock and Stray Program.
And who named it Suey?
It wasn't by committee, but I did. We've also retired. We had a JD.
You retired JD?
Yes, sir. Happy Jack just left us. We've utilized
with 4,000 employees, we've not named anything Mr. Early yet, but there's always an opportunity.
A B would be good for that one.
Yes, sir. Our business items, first item would be a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-100, sale of recycled paper. The recommendation would be toward the high bidder.
Evergreen.
Any problems finding that one
Well,
there, Jack?
here it is.
Got you a little
I have some
confused there?
papers. Awarding to Green Star Recycling at the rate of $58.50 a ton. Evergreen Fiber Sales at the rate of $210 per ton.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number two item is also a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-065. This is our annual contract for sign shop supplies and traffic control equipment. Recommendation will be toward a per enterprise basis, awarding the five primary and secondary award vendors as shown in your court communique that meet specifications.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number three item is another bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-067. This is our annual contract for the purchase of a tractor, backhoe, or loader. Recommendation will be toward a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors, again, as shown in your court communique.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number four is also a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-074. This is our annual contract for the rental of tables and chairs for elections administration. Recommendation would be toward the business interiors on a per enterprise basis.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2010-087. This is our annual contract for floor mat and shop towel service. Recommendation will be toward a per enterprise basis, awarding to Aramark Uniform Services.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Commissioner Brooks, Fickus, and Johnson all have interlocal agreements for us this week. Commissioner Brooks?
Move approval of item 801A and B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve items 801A and B. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Fickus?
Got an interlocal with the city, I believe, of Westland.
Yes.
And move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve items 802A and B. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Johnson?
Move approval of 803A and B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any appointments today? There being none, then we will move on to the claims, including the addendum.
Approval of the claims and the addendum.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have three items we'd like to bring to you this morning. The first one concerns the monthly update from the hospital district. Mr. Early is here to address the court at this time.
Penniless, but he's here.
I always try to provide you all you need. I just didn't bring my wallet. So I will come back and I will give you money.
How much?
How much do you want?
$20.
Better check with your wife.
Go right ahead, Mr. Early. Just don't keep digging. Don't keep digging.
Here's what I'll do. I'll tell you what I'll do.
No.
I'll provide you, so that I can make you feel a little worse, I'll provide you $40. Okay?
Make it 60.
No, I don't. Then I'm going to feel worse.
Okay.
40. Couple things that I did want to give you an update on, Your Honor, and the Commissioners, is I wanted to let you know that this week we had a Chamber of Commerce luncheon. And what we did, we invited all the area Chamber of Commerces to come to JPS. We provided them an update on some of our new medical programs, but more importantly, we gave them a tour of what it would be like to be a trauma patient. And we took them into our trauma bays, we took them into our operating room, we took them up to our ICU, and we took them out. We had a good cross-section of our chambers, including the Arlington, Fort Worth, Mansfield, Northeast, and area chambers. We had them from all of your precincts, and the tour was pretty phenomenal. There wasn't anybody that didn't come up to me and say, I didn't realize JPS did this. They were surprised.
Did you have the ethnic chambers as
We
well?
did. We had the black chamber, and we had an Asian chamber, and we had the Hispanic chamber as well.
Very good.
Thank you. And they all were well received on what they saw and what they did. We provided them lunch, and then we moved on from there. And we're going to do the same thing in the fall with school boards. We're going to invite the school board presidents and superintendents all in to see what there is. And to a T, we've had the mayors come in and do that, and to a T, most have left saying, I had no idea JPS looked like this and did what it does. So I think that we're doing good in that regard. To that extent, we also invited the medical leadership and some of the leadership from Lockheed to come in. Lockheed is such a huge partner of ours in the community, and yet they don't have a full understanding of some of the things that we did. We are, as you well know, the 5th largest employer in Tarrant County. And we're asking those who are larger than us and some that are smaller than us to come in and spend some time at JPS. And we try to have our medical staff come in and tell them what we can do for Lockheed and what we can do for their employee base. That, too, was a very successful meeting that we had. The other thing, and this is in preparation of what we will present to you, that is a handout that I have. That was published in the Fort Worth Business Press. And all that shows you is the urgent care centers that we have in Tarrant County, and you'll see that our urgent care center is by and far, thank you, by and far the largest of the urgent care centers. What we found out in our needs assessment is that we don't have urgent care centers that are located in the right parts of Tarrant County when you talk about servicing a population who has a difficult time at affording health care bills. Oftentimes your urgent care centers are for-profit centers. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just not located where a base of your community that has financial needs finds itself. So the fact that JPS has 2 of the largest along with Cook is good, but it also screams for the fact that we probably need more urgent care facilities in Tarrant County. And we will begin to look at that and figure out the best way to provide urgent care services so that we can help alleviate the 45% overutilization of our emergency rooms. So that just gives you an idea of what's out there. Also, in preparation of the budget, on August 7th, we will have our budget retreat. Budget retreats aren't real exciting for us. You just get to come in on Saturday. That's why we call it a retreat. Same place, same room, and we sit down and discuss the budget. Our goal in the budget this year is not to do just cross-the-board anything. We're not going to make a 5% cut or a 10% cut. We want to analytically look at each program and figure out what needs to be expanded, what needs to be made level, and what needs to be reduced. We've also included unprecedented and amazing amount of work from our medical staff to include them in the budget. We've not just come to them and said, here's the budget. We've included them in every portion of it. And they have had some good suggestions and made some real positive input for us. And you'll be seeing that. The other thing that our board approved at the last board meeting was our cardiovascular program. If you will remember, when we became a level 1 trauma center, we had to, in order to qualify for a level 1, be able to do open heart surgeries at JPS. We bought the bypass machine and now have staff prepared to do that to a good extent. Those people who come in with what we would consider a trauma heart, we can take care of and provide the open heart surgeries. It then became a little bit of nonsensical nature to send all of our hearts out when we had the capability to do it. You were well aware of that situation. JPS now, between now and October, will begin to ramp up and begin to take all of the connection patient hearts in the JPS facility. And we are not going to advertise as a heart center or anything else. We have no interest in competing per se. We do have an interest in spending your tax dollars wisely. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense with the capability that we have and the machines and the staff to send our hearts elsewhere. So we'll be doing hearts at JPS. Wanted to give you an update on that. The last thing I wanted to give you an update on is my effort to pull money out of your pockets. And what we have at JPS is...
Here it comes, JK, just thanks.
That's why I wanted to do $40. We have an employee giving campaign at JPS. It's one of the few organizations that do, and I think it's a great thing. When our employees find themselves in a difficult situation, a flood came, they lost their home, they lost all their stuff for the inside of the house, or they found themselves, unfortunately, behind in some of their payments, we have a committee by which employees can go to and request funds, and there is no repayment needed. Last year, I rode in the Hotter Than Hell bike ride in Wichita Falls, and I would ask two things of you, thank you, I would ask two things of you, either to ride with me, which I look forward to seeing you all in your bike shorts, or, just kidding, Commissioner, or I would appreciate the fact that you would potentially donate. And if you donate $250 or more, you get to keep your $250 if I don't complete the whole 100 miles.
You completed it all last year.
I did complete it all last year, but this year they're predicting it's a little higher. The chairman did quit at 62 miles, and he was talking a great deal of smack before that, so I take appreciation knowing that I am on camera and I'm part of history saying that our chairman at that time did not make it, and his name is Steve Montgomery. But he's no longer our chair. So hence the liberal nature at which me saying that. But what we did was we raised $6,000 last year, and my goal is to double that. So what I want to do is I'll send all y'all a form, and I'm sensitive to just hitting everybody up for money, but it goes all back to the employees.
Not too sensitive.
Not sensitive enough not to send you the hope of raising some money. So we're going to do that, and we're going to ride. I don't have a big fancy bike like Betsy Price, and I don't ride as much as she does, but I'm going to give it my best shot and try to ride another 100 miles this year.
How long did it take you to ride that last year?
Calendar days. 6-7 hours, and it's at 45 miles your butt goes numb, so it's fine. It really does help. Once you get past 45, it's downhill.
You don't go one of them big seats?
I don't. I do have the bell, but not the big seat. So
well, if you got the basket, then I might ride along with you as long as I get in the front of that.
For you sitting in that basket, I'll buy one. Be delighted to. So thank you all very much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I will tell you that last year, just anecdotally, Commissioner Johnson did come to my office 2 days before the bike ride, and he put yellow sticky tags on everything in my office that he wanted because he was convinced I wasn't coming back. So he was slightly disappointed when I completed it and came home.
When is it? When is it this year?
They like to have it the last weekend of August to maximize the heat. And I don't think a community can better imitate hell than Wichita Falls. And so they're doing a good job.
My wife, having come from there, would second that motion, and it has a history of being the hottest place and the coldest place in Texas during the whatever particular season you're in.
Yeah, it is hot. So I look forward to doing it. We've got about 7 other riders from JPS that are going to do it, including, thank goodness, our medical team. It's about 7 right now.
Oh.
Yeah. So thank you all.
Is your chairman going to ride in it this year?
No. It's just me. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Members of the Court, if we could go to item D now. This is a briefing concerning the transfer of the recycle center operations from county clerk to facilities management. Ms. Henderson is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Number 20 from Ms. Farmer, so I'll give it to her before we leave today. He's a hard act to follow.
No, come on and get it.
Yeah, he is.
Come on and get it.
Judge, Commissioners, today I'm proposing that the Tarrant County Document Destruction Center be turned over to the Facilities Department for management. I feel the operation has clearly outgrown my department. The Recycle Center was established back in 1993 when I began an aggressive records management program to digitize books, files, and all the incoming documents. At that time, we had hundreds of boxes of paper that could be shredded. And by the end of this year, we will have accomplished our goal of shredding all the paper that can officially be destroyed. Along the way, we began to destroy documents and paper for other county departments and other government entities. The department has grown to where we now handle 44 interlocal agreements and decile recycling for 64 county buildings. We have used inmates as labor and handle all the duties with the minimum of employees. However, this year, my records manager retired, and I have no plans to replace them, so I have not included that salary in next year's budget request. I have no one to oversee the operation of the recycling center. I can no longer justify my department running this operation because we no longer have a need. I feel facilities can find efficiencies to improve the operation and probably better manage the department. And maybe one day they can expand services to include plastic and aluminum as well. I would hope that you want to continue the operation of Tarrant County Document Destruction Center because I think it fully benefits the Green Initiative, addresses the Green Initiative, and aids the environment. Over the years, we have diverted over 8 tons of paper from the landfill and collected almost $1 million. I have made both candidates aware of my proposal today, and they're in agreement and they fully understand the situation. So I'm recommending today that we transfer document destruction to David Phillips in the Facilities Department. And he's here to also answer any questions that you might have.
Suzanne, you're to be applauded for your leadership in pulling this program together.
Thank you.
And your collaborative outreach to other entities to impress upon them that there was a source for doing this and a need to do it. It's one of the highlights of your, one of the many highlights of your service as county clerk. And
thank you.
I want to thank you for doing it.
Thank you. And I'm not turning it over just because I'm retiring. I want to make that clear. That's why I called both candidates to make them aware.
You've digitized all your records and you don't need to
absolutely,
do it anymore.
Absolutely. And we preserved thousands of books, so we're good to go.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Entities.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson has some questions, but he
I had throat surgery yesterday.
I want
you
him
did?
to
Okay.
convey his message. How many employees are there?
5.
And I'm assuming that's how many will remain.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're all paid out of the general fund
How
anyway.
much is the total expense per year?
Approximately $360,000 expenses.
Why not change other?
Can I revise that number? Only because
Charge them.
that expense includes the manager that you're eliminating. So basically, you're looking at closer to around $317,000, $320,000.
Why not charge other entities? Are we not charging?
Well, the agreement with our interlocal agreement, what we agreed to was they delivered the paper to us, and they sign off, releasing us from any liability, and then we get to sell the paper.
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off.
Would we make money?
Not really.
I don't know that we
No.
make.
No, it's 317,000 expense
Yeah.
and about less than 53,000 revenue.
Yeah, this year we're going to double that, but it still doesn't come anywhere near to 300,000.
It looks like the average over the last 6.5 years, which is as far back as our current financial system goes, looks like the average is around $74,000 a year. And it does
Revenue?
fluctuate.
Revenue?
Yes, sir.
53.
The average. That's just what I saw.
Okay, so you're saying somewhere between 53 and 74,000 a year in revenue.
I mean, we've had a high of 124,000.
Well, let me point out that if we outsource this, I don't know what the cost would be, which is what David Phillips might want to address.
But you're saying you don't need that anymore, other than
That is
just
correct.
the ongoing.
That is correct.
You know, originally it started out just as your department, and then you just
Yeah,
kind
another
of
department
kept
started
expanding
calling,
and-
and by the way, you're going to be out there anyway, could we just bring some paper? And then it just grew from there, and we were going to be there, and so it went from 1 day a week to 2 days a week, and then pretty soon it was just full-time. So we just began to incorporate other paper. We were going to be there anyway, just worked it in, but now we don't need it anymore, so.
Do we need to have a discussion at some point on whether to continue?
I hope not.
David Phillips might want to address this. He has some ideas I think you might want to hear.
Charging these other entities.
We're trying to be a green county, and to not recycle our recyclables would not be a very good leadership statement.
Well, I understand, but, and I agree, if you're bringing in 50 to 70 a year, and you're spending 317, and you got a $250,000 deficit in this operation, would we, if we outsource that to somebody else, would we spend $250,000?
Probably spend 500.
You think so?
I think we'd spend a lot more, depending on who all we were doing it with.
No, I'm just saying we do ours. Forget everybody else.
But that's also, and even if that costs, that's using inmates for labor.
What now?
Even
That's
if
using
inmates for labor for the heavy lifting.
That's the 5, or you got 5 plus the inmates?
5 plus.
5 plus.
David, did you have some other ideas or thoughts?
Yes, I think the recycle program integrates well into my department, and facility management departments were started in the mid-'80s to oversee some things that were kind of just piecemeal together with organizations, and you've created a facilities management department in 1990. And this, however, this does work right in well. Our department already recycles a lot of stuff, light bulbs, light ballast, solvents, paints, chemicals, and such. So we already do quite a bit of recycling. Now, I think I would need a couple of years to see if it would be a break-even enterprise, because if we do expand to plastics and metals and so forth, there'd be a possibility we could expand that at our buildings and see if somebody will come get that stuff at break even, or maybe some slight margin to us. I would need probably 2 years to do that.
Thanks. Any other questions?
What we wanted to do on this was to bring it to your attention, because this is a decision that is going to, we want to have effective the first of the new fiscal year, which is in October. So by bringing it to you now, it would give us plenty of time to discuss it with you, get your input, and see what direction that the court wants to take.
Could we also get a list of the 44 entities that you've got interlocals with right now?
Sure. Yes, sir. If there's no further discussion on that, should we move on to the next item?
Please.
Okay. If we can now go to letter C. This is an update on the FY11 budget issues. Ms. Schneider is going to address the court. I've asked Ms. Schneider to talk about the issues dealing with the article that you saw in the paper. We did receive our July 25th roll, and Ms. Schneider, if you'd like to discuss that and any other items.
When comparing appraised values, there's no doubt about it that it becomes a very confusing issue. There are some static dates that all governmental entities work with on a regular basis. July 25th is when we receive the certified tax roll from the appraisal district. September 1st, we receive a supplemental roll, also from the appraisal district, because they've had more opportunity to handle more of the appeals that have been presented to them. But the appraised values are a fluid number. They change constantly throughout the year. Minerals, for instance, are only evaluated in January. So that being a fluid number, the base goes up and down, primarily up, as properties are added throughout the year. So the article you read in the paper takes in consideration where the values were prior to the new appraisal process. And when I say new, the most current appraisal process.
So the article that came out took the property values as of the most current ones that we have.
Right. Today, actually.
Is what they were, and then reduces from there.
Right. Now, our budget, our tax rate is set, and the budget recommendations to departments are based on the July 25th, the certified tax roll. When we approve the budget, we take into consideration the September 1st supplemental roll. Now, knowing that the September 1st is truly our base for what we built the budget on in the end, the difference between where we ended up on September 1st and the July 25th certified tax roll was 3.84%. So you can tell that we made some gains in those appraised values throughout this fiscal year, but as the properties were valued for the next year, that base dropped significantly. Now, we can also tell you that the most significant drop was in business property, commercial properties, and that's in at least double digits. That being said, the change in our estimated taxes for 2011 will be a decrease of approximately $12.8 million. Overall, as they stand right now, and they're still a little fluid, the change in our total revenues is $14.4 million. Now, the difference there is a change in fees of office, and that is primarily a decrease in our portion of the sales tax on the sale of motor vehicles. Everything else is somewhat static. I can tell you also that our beginning cash balances are up, and first time in a number of years, our recommendation is going to be, at least initially, that we balance the budget with a small portion of our beginning cash balances. Now, it's a somewhat shaky ground. I believe that we're in a much better situation than many of the governmental agencies that surround us because we have not relied on beginning cash balances in the past. We've been careful to use those for one-time uses and not for reoccurring operating costs. We also are very mindful of the Commissioner's priority regarding the employees, and we continue to develop a plan to present to you at the budget hearings in a couple of weeks.
Questions?
Bottom line is we intend to bring to you at the beginning of the budget hearings a balanced budget for you to consider.
And the balancing of that budget will require some use of our beginning cash balances.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
And to just give you an equation, roughly using a number of $50,000 is the average cost of an employee. When I say average cost, that's including all benefits. The number obviously could be higher or lower depending on the department. But if you had a $5 million issue that you were dealing with, it'd take about a reduction of around 100 FTEs. Now, there are a few reductions in force that are built into the budget. With the exception of one, they are all currently vacant positions.
What our goal was today, Your Honor, is to simply to begin to give you an overview, give the court an overview of what we're seeing now that we have the July 25th roll. And as Ms. Schneider said, we're going to be refining those numbers, and we'll be ready to present our recommendations on August 16th.
Any other questions? Any other items at this time? Mr. Mays?
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
We will now recess our open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. Having returned from our closed session, we'll now address the following matters.
Members of the court, on item 8D1 under the 8E1 under the district attorney, we ask that you authorize the district attorney's office to file all necessary litigation in this matter.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Please make note of the fact that Commissioner Brooks is not with us. Any other business?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Then we are adjourned.